Well, hello then, I do hope you're all well. Now, is this the best Fantastic Brexit Take Down, the best ever? What am I talking about? Well, while I was recording the video earlier about what happened on the 7th of July in 2021, it's earlier on for today, I noticed an International Trade Party Cross-Select Committee meeting, and at the time it was then Liz Truss who was being asked questions about a bespoke Australia-type deal, and again, straight-talking SNP MP Angus Brendon MacNeil, who again asked a Brexiter basically the question I think he's been asking for quite a while. What is the point of Brexit if Brexit is not going to deliver on the sunny uplands?
Okay, Secretary of State, that's a lot more than expected. Thank you. Secretary of State, this deal, as we know, for every £245 that Brexit will cost the UK economy, the Australia deal is going to make up £1 of that. So £245 lost, £1 gained potentially with this deal. How much of that will be through goods and animal product trade? Has that been broken down as to where that £1 is? What is going to be making up that £1 of gain? Which sectors?
Well, I make a variety of points to your question. First of all, the analysis you're quoting is a comparative static analysis. It looks at the world as it was a few years ago, not the world as it is in 2030, the world as it is in 2040, or the world it is in 2050. So it's not a forecast, it's a static analysis. And it's useful analysis for comparing different trade deals to each other, but it's not a useful analysis for predicting what our trade will be with Australia in 10 or 20 years' time. And in fact, there's separate analysis which suggests a 30% growth in Australia trade with Australia anyway, in addition to gains from the trade deal. And furthermore, Australia is a key building block for CPTPP, which has got potentially huge gains for the UK economy in the future because it is a very fast-growing trade area. So I don't think it's helpful to look at the world as it is now. This is not about, gains in the short term. This is about the UK's long-term positioning, putting itself at the heart of some of the fastest-growing markets in the world, particularly with advanced deals in digital and services, where we are the second largest exporter in the world. That is the real benefit to the UK economy. Of course, it also benefits goods trade. I've talked about CPTPP having 25% of meat imports by 2030. It's very helpful for things like the car industry, where we've got very strong rules of origin provisions. But fundamentally, the biggest gain is likely to be in areas like data and services. And these gravity analysis of trade, useful though they are not very good at looking at the benefits for services. So, for example, the mobility provisions that we've agreed with Australia are unprecedented apart from their deal with New Zealand. But it's very hard to put the value on exactly what British lawyers being able to work in Australia without having to re-qualify. How do we know exactly what that's going to generate in 10 years' time? We're opening up opportunities, but it's going to take Britain's legal firms to actually walk through the door and take up those opportunities. So what this is about giving more opportunities, giving more alternative markets for our exporters, getting more reliable supply chains for our importers. But it's not about...
She's running out of word salad now by the sounds of it. I don't think she answered the question.
Well,
Okay,
looking backwards and wishing we were still a member of the EU, which seems to be your perspective.
I think if we're talking, just to be clear on the numbers, then my question really wasn't answered. But on the point that Brexit's costing £245 and Australia is recouping £1 of that, the United States, if it was ever to happen, would only recoup £10 of that. New Zealand would recoup 50 pence. CPTPP, depending on what happens and who else ratifies it, will bring back about £1.50 to £4. Canada will bring back about £1.50. So for the £245 you've lost, every £245 you lose of GDP from the UK going forward, from your own government's analysis, you're only bringing back about £18 from the figures I've mentioned, these are your own figures, your own government's figures, you call them static analysis, the only figures you've got. So that leaves people watching going, the government have essentially tossed away for £245 to start with, hoping to get only £18 of it back, £227 is gone. What are people to make? Where's the big hope coming from this? I mean, the static analysis has to say something. We're looking for a breakdown of what you're going to get in this pound from Australia in the goods, what's going to be in services. And you mentioned also mobility to Australia. But I'm sure, again, people will be watching and thinking, we used to have mobility all over Europe and your government curtailed that to good, and they thought they did a very good thing. Well, not agreed with, of course, by many people, or mobility and liberty was curtailed in the UK. Will these people who lost all that mobility to the EU, will they get that back in with the Australian deal?
Mr. Chairman, it seems to me that you're looking at the world as it was, rather than the world as it's going to be in the future. By 2030, 66% of the world's middle classes are going to be in Asia. They're going to want to buy more products like Scottish whisky, like our cars,
asking, what's the
like
GDP
our
gain from
computer
this?
games, our financial services. And what we are doing is positioning the UK for that world of the future, rather than looking back to a previous era when we were part of the EU. And these are opportunities we've got now because we are able to be more flexible, we're able to be more nimble, we're able to be more forward-leaning, and we are able to take a more offensive rather than defensive position on trade. And that is going to bring big opportunities. The Scotch whisky industry have welcomed the Australia deal, which removes the 5% tariffs. It's going to get additional legal protections for Scotch in Australia. There are huge markets in places like India where we've got opportunities to reduce tariffs. And I just strongly encourage you, Mr. Chairman, to look to where the future opportunities are rather than living in the past.
In other words, stop being a traitor to your country, and you just need to believe more, because that's all Brexit's about. You have to believe. What an idiot.
Well, I'm looking to your government, with all due respect, Secretary of State, and your numbers in the past, and the cost of Brexit versus what you're going to gain in the future. And for throwing away £245 with Brexit, you're only going to gain £18. Now, with the Australian trade deal, the Australians, some people have quipped that if the UK wasn't in the room, this deal wouldn't look very different. Will the Australians have a second bite at the UK when the UK goes for the small GDP increase that is CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership? Or has Australia finished its ask at this stage with the Australian trade agreement?
Well, I don't accept the premise of your question, because I think CPTPP is a huge opportunity, and I have explained.
What's the GDP figure for CTPP versus the European Union?
Well,
we're
expecting trade to grow by 65% by 2030, and I think that's quite
well,
a
if it grows by
significant
65% of 0.08% of GDP, how big is that? Can you tell us?
I'm sure your mental arithmetic's just as good as mine, Mr. Chairman. But in answer to your question, we have agreed the market access terms for both the Australia deal and CPTPP, and that is made very clear in the agreement in principle document. So this is a single pocket negotiation. The market access chapter is closed for both Australia and CPTPP.
By the way, Chair, if I might just...
We'll call you in a second. Table to tell me first. Table.
Now, again, like I've said before, I have a lot of time for Angus, Brendon, MacNeil, because you can just tell he just doesn't suffer fools gladly, does he? And I know it's old, but it just came across this clip by luck, and I thoroughly reduced the way he just reduced our, well, probably future Prime Minister into talking utter bollocks and utter nonsense over a crappy trade deal with Australia. And I certainly hope you guys enjoyed it too. Right, I shall leave the video here, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell, and take care.